Guess what I don't have to do now? I don't have to worry about not having music. Welcome to Finding Things Within and Without, episode 39. You know what? I don't have to worry. Check out some other shit I found too. Let me pull everything up here. Okay, so you're going to see why I don't have to worry. But first, we're going to say thanks to Sarah over at Universe Unveiled. All that and more. You can say, we're getting this thanks for Sarah. Sarah, take a bow. Thank you, everyone. That was a well-deserved standing ovation to Sarah and her work doing this completely unbidden, by the way, and totally surprised me as I was getting ready to head down the Coosa River yesterday. And that is part of what we're going to do here in a minute. We'll look at that. But first, look what Sarah did for me.
Bare feet kicking red Alabama clay. Jacob at my side, we walk the old way. Spirit called me out of the dark and the grave. Reborn on a new path, ain't no looking back. Barefoot stomping through the pine and the briar. Running where the floods left buried in the fire. Finding things within.
Would you look at that? All right, now what we're gonna depend on is operator. All right, where was I? There's so much new stuff I found here. Okay, media, stop. That's gonna bring me back. Perfect. And then we're gonna stay on media because for everybody that didn't realize, Sarah had just entered the room. That's right. Sarah. I told you. I told you. You missed it. Yeah, I found a few more functions when I was loading that in, Sarah. I didn't realize that, I could sit here and make just a completely dumb joke and have prepared for myself, the That's pretty cool. It does have a second delay, so I'm gonna have to, remember that in my timing, right? But we also have a new member to the studio. We'd like to welcome. We finally have our own. We've got a heron, because the heron is always welcome everybody. The heron. He's always showing up. He's always showing up in the videos, and so no, actually, it was a. It wasn't an estate, sale because the owner is still quite alive, but her family had to move her. That's too high. Her family had to move her into some more assisted living, and she's a dear friend of the family. Actually, I got my car from her. That's the car I've been driving for a couple of years now. But anyway, in her backyard there was a heron. So we've got a heron in the studio now, and also there was this in her den that is made of wood. It's pretty cool. I picked that up. And not many more additions, but I did add some of the lightning bolt obsidian. Best to my research in class behind this. But y'all already know what's back there. You're like, what are we doing here in the morning other than listening to Sarah's song? Well, first of all, that's important. That's a good enough fucking reason to be here, if you ask me, is just to show off and to test Sarah's song. Because she also, so now we also have some music, that I can just kind of, it's listed as outro, but you can kind of just, whenever you need some music, and then supposedly I can do things with the volume, so like you can, like, people try to do it outro, like tell people, like, shut the fuck up, stop talking now, tell us about yourself, we're getting out of here, where do people find you, but I could kind of do it to myself, or basically just to kind of, if we lose the rhythm, we've got all kinds of ways to pull it back now where we can't get copyrighted. And again, and last time, I swear, it's the last time. It'll be I know, see, they don't believe me, but everybody give Sarah a big thank you. Go find Universe Unveiled. Yeah, let's move on. Thank you, everybody. Go find Universe Unveiled and give her a like and a subscribe with her sister Jacqueline, who's out there in the real world. What's up, Scribed? I see you down there. So I'm doing chat here because I found effects, man. Because Sarah so graciously, when I was headed out to paddle down the Coosa, and we're gonna look at that video. We're gonna do a couple of things. One of them I think you'll like, Scribed, is so I won't spend too long here bullshitting because I've got a day to do too. So the reason I went ahead and did this because it's really hot. It's gonna be like hot. Like people are taking it serious for the first time all summer around here. I mean, we're kind of used to heat, but it's the first time you're seeing. Thank you again to Kyle with note. It's the first time you see, the weather forecasting individuals. I don't know. I almost said producing because shit. A lot of it seems, let's say, aggravated, right? Let's don't say produced. Let's say a lot of the weather seems aggravated. But for the first time, they're sort of telling everybody, watch it today. So, but Jacob and I, that's a prime day because not only, he's schooling, but most people won't be out in it. It's a prime day for us to go over to the Coosa River. One of the main reasons, besides not anybody there for Jacob Chase, besides this guy, but you see, he's already comfortable around him. This is the water level. All right, so the dam, they'll turn it on weekends and they shut it off in the week, and so the water level gets back down to where, if you guys have seen me go out to this island, in at Corn Creek, then you've seen the water level I'm talking about, right? Well, I was talking to the owner after I got done canoeing, and as soon as he was like, "How was it?" My first words were, "Great. When can I go with you when the water's down?" And he just looked me dead in the eye, and he was like, "It's the most beautiful fucking river in the world when you get that son of a bitch down to 2,000 cubics per." And I was like, he just like he knew, And he's like, "So Monday through Friday?" And I was like, "I'll see you this week." He was like, "Not this week. Me and the missus, we go for our own water therapy. We found as soon as school gets back, we head down to the coast for our own water therapy." And so I just looked at him, smiled, and said, "Right on." Week after, he said, "Yes." I said, "So we'll be back to kayak the whole thing." Because, guys, 2 feet of water, right? Level, right? That shit does a lot to the terrain. As you'll see, it's only like a 9-minute video. I probably won't let the whole thing play, but we will look at it because it's the second part. I'm going to structure this because we got to talk about Enoch for a second, and so we're going to start there. All right. And then the game plan from there is to use this video from yesterday, which I think it has some beautiful footage, even though the water level is up so high. For people that aren't familiar with this part of the world and the Coosa River, and if you've heard us read from the DeSoto Chronicles, then you've heard us talk about, the Coosa territory, right? Well, it's fucking beautiful, right? And there's these islands that you're like, those burial mounds, and it's sacred and it's powerful and it's beautiful. And so hopefully we'll do a little glimpse there. Now, I watched not all of, but a good bit of Dan Richards, buddy of the show. I don't know if he's ever seen the show. That's what people say, friend of the show. But I what I'm saying. He's a good dude. Hollered at him once or twice. So you can say friend of the show, right? Whatever. I was watching some of his video about Denisovans, and it continues the questions of about giants, right? And you guys saw me talk to Jim Vieira, the fucking killer dude that is Jim Vieira, a couple of weeks ago. Giants, polydactylism, right? And of course, those of you that have watched my stuff, I forgot to press go on Rumble. Oh no, let's do that real quick. There's so much to remember when you want to start streams on all these things. Like you got to name it, and then your mouse. Okay, touchscreen. My mouse has gotten iffy, but I found out I had touchscreen. Okay, waiting for encoder. Cool. But now I need to come back to you guys because we're going to look at some things. Okay, starting point. Nicotine's kicking in. Is the giants, right? So let me finish with those of you that know me. Oh, would you just get back to it, man? Hey, I'm gonna blame it on. Now I've got to use my phone. I'll figure it out. The timing. There's all kinds of other little sound noises, but you know what the most important button is? I just noticed is upload. So sound effects.
Powered by Riverside FM.
No, what is that? I didn't ask for that. Sort of a technical door slamming sound noise, but this is, it sounds sort of like a fart, didn't it? But like really fast. They have weird ones. I'm going to add some new ones. Giants, my own work, with Billa, of course, in the story of Chief Toscaloosa, his son, the burial place for his son. If you want to see the evidence for that, you're going to have to look for my stuff on Wetumpka Impact Crater, right? I mean, I got the artifact behind me, but most of y'all that are watching at this hour of the day have seen all this shit, so I'm going to keep rolling. But giants seem to be important, right? Everywhere. And I don't want to get ahead of myself here. And so a lot of people, out of interest for that, of seeking evidence, they'll use, and Dan, I was quite impressed. Even Dan used a biblical quote. It doesn't make it impressive. He just, tends to not use such sources, right? So that was fun to see pop up there. But of course, the Book of Enoch is not considered biblical, right? Which is kind of the crux of, I guess, probably what I'm going to end up coming out of my fucking mouth here in a minute. Sarah, I need one of those disclaimers too. That's what All right. There's a lot of reasons is where I'm going that we could go. And I brought a little copy of Enoch. I downloaded it on my phone here. So we might even read just a little. This is not like somewhere I'm going to linger. But there's a few points I want to get out for a few friends that have expressed interest in Enoch. And these friends are coming at it from a Christian, sort of viewpoint, right? And I think it's very important for many reasons. Look, guys, books don't get fucking attempted at being erased from canon unless there's something to it, right? And while there is much that you can expound upon, right? And like any of these books that were included in this book that these human institutions decided upon, and then they called Bible, and even since those days, even since they decided that shit, they've been fucking with it, and trying not to tell you, But Enoch was not in the canon, unless, of course, you go to the Ethiopian Bible, which is, by many accounts, at least experts, which I'm not, one of the oldest, like, compendiums or complete sort of like, here's a bunch of books and we call it the Bible, right? It's like the oldest, okay? It's got Enoch. The Dead Sea, So look, in the desert, they're like, hey, listen. They're putting together an official one of these, and everybody goes, oh, fuck. So we need to hide the shit they don't want in there, otherwise they're going to destroy it all and erase it, right? Like, imagine today, y'all, just the same as fucking today, And so they like, their version of, protect it for the ages, they put in some clay fucking pots, and, out in the middle of the desert, and we find them, and I don't remember, 74 Dead Sea Scrolls, Nag Hammadi, all that shit, right? Okay, so you got some versions and allusions to all that in there. Now, there's a lot of reasons, y'all, why I think they did that to everybody. Now, one of the ones, and I'll try to get right to what I think is the important point of what I'll say to these people who are diving into Enoch, for all kinds of reasons, is this. And please remember that if I try to be careful, y'all, but sometimes, you just gotta fucking talk. And I'm never talking about individuals. Never talking about someone who considers themselves to follow the Catholic faith, right? An earnest individual, I'll say things about systems and institutions, and that's what a religion, when you use that word, is you're talking about a system, an institution, a thing that has been, fucking plastered and put together by man and fucking put out there as, this is God, and it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's a thing. Right? I'm talking about things. And one of the things that's at the heart of these things is a separation from God and a guilt conscience, right? Like, they thrive on that shit because it's like control, They give you a reason as to why you shouldn't be close to fucking God, right? And then they give you all these other little places where they'll come in and fucking handle that for you, you know. And I think one of the most earliest places you can start sort of unwinding some of this is with the like Noah and Enoch sort of epoch. Now, I find this very important for lots of reasons because y'all know my work. Oh, there's a sword. I'm going to dehead the heron. Y'all know my work with antediluvian Alabama, right? So, you know, there's so many layers, man. That's why I'm trying. We may start reading Enoch, but we might just have to do a whole fucking series because there's so much in there and so much to say about how it all, you know. But what's most important to me, to anything that claims to know something about God, what was most important to me as a truth seeker was, okay, what is this going to tell me about God? Right? Now, it's most important to have your own experiences and not take the word of any fucking body. Okay? So it's like on the record. But, you know, when you're diving through these ancient, very important accounts and you're trying to give them all their sort of just due, you go, well, this was part of the Christian sort of narrative, and at some point it became not, so let's figure out what the fuck that's about, you know? That's where I'm coming from. All right. So when you look at Noah, what's one thing? Let's look at this. All right, everybody knows the story of Noah from the Bible, but it's the problem with it is put most succinctly with, I can say it like this. I think it was Darren Aronofsky who did an excellent movie, you know, on Noah, and I liked a lot of the interpretations. It was fun. It was a fun movie, you know. It was good. There was actually some sort of emotional moments in there with like CGI fucking giants and shit, you know. So it was fun. But what came down to at the end, and what they sort of showed in this movie so well, again, was an interpretation. But interpretation of facts as presented in the Christian Bible thus far, right? Is Noah, one of the women, you know, his adopted children on the boat, the ark, after everybody's been washed away by God because they were bad humans, right? God's just got Noah and his family on this ark because all the other humans were destroyed. Why? Because they were bad humans. Humanity had gone astray. Okay, we're getting this problem here. You already feel it. Humanity had gone astray. And so God killed them all, except for Noah. And Noah was so committed in this Aronofsky version that when he finds out that there's a baby in utero on his boat, he goes insane with the notion of, fuck, this means I'm probably supposed to kill this shit because my interpretation of God wants us all wiped, and he just saved us to like tend to some shit, you know. And then the wife comes to him in the movie and is like, listen, have you thought that you might have it all fucking wrong and then he's just leaving it up to you? You know, like, is it worth it? And that made for a beautiful moment in a movie, and it made for a beautiful interpretation of a story that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you really want to look at it. So he just wipes everybody and saves one, but he knows it's just going to all start again. What the fuck is that about? Right? Where does that go? But what it also does is it gives you an angry, vengeful God that wanted to destroy the project he called humanity. Now, what the fuck kind of sense does that make? Why would you do that? What does it do to you if I told you that your parent burnt their last house with all their family down, okay? They burn it down, and at the last fucking minute, you were the baby, and you were supposed to die. But at the last minute, like, their heart kind of got to him, and they were like, all right, not the baby. You know? Like, how would you feel towards that fucking parent, right? Be like, would you lock that motherfucker? Get him away from me. Get him away from me. Right? And it's going to put up this separation. All right? Now, in general, not in general, actually, in pretty explicit fucking terms. I love Enoch, especially when you try to, like, see it through your own modern lens, right? You get a much different story of what the fuck God was doing. That's the bug lady. Hello, come in. I'm recording over here, but you're more than welcome to come in. So there's going to be noise. There's a bug sprayer, right? Hang on. Okay, we just had to give everybody a reminder. So Enoch, that's where we're going. What you get is the exact opposite sort of picture of God, guys. Yes, you still get this destruction brought, right? I mean, the thing we call this Younger Dryas is catastrophic. The thing we called Atlantis, the thing, all these myths and all these legends from around the world all point to this age before ours, right? Well, you get that. You get that in Enoch, right? And you get a much more detailed description. And what it tells you is about the exact fucking opposite thing as the narrative from the Bible tells you. And I want you to ask yourself what that means about why. Why would that be? Why would I get this book and read that something very special was going on here on this earth, something extremely important to the one and the all, and rules were put in place about who could and could not do what in this project that was humanity? There were watchers, as they call them in Enoch. Beings that seemed to be something spiritual, but that could manifest physical, something beyond anything we really have words to try to wrap around. There was like much of Enoch, I know you can't see my screen, it becomes, it's material, right? Like Enoch, like it seems like he gets in a fucking ship, you know? But he could also be seen psychedelically, like a prophet, you know. Either way works. And that's not what we're talking about. We're after, what did this tell us about God? And what it told us was that he had a sacred project going on here, and some of the members of the project said, fuck that. They said, look, we're eternal. We're not even of matter. We can choose to be of matter because he put us here because we're above him. We came before him. Why is this so important? Now, the book will tell you it's because they wanted wives and all these other reasons. It always comes down to sex, right? So that's believable. But what it really came down to was that, right? Was just like today. If you had somebody, had a bunch of people work for him and were like, listen, I know you think you know everything, but you don't. All right? And you don't need to know everything. What you need to know is your job. Go do your fucking job. Right? Okay. Well, just like might happen in this world of humanity, a bunch of them went, yeah, fuck all that. And they hatched a little plan. And they're like, look, why don't we get these manifested bodies and let's go down here and get some of these beautiful women. That shit looks fun. And then something happens. Something genetically happens because these manifested bodies they're not human. They look human, they act, but they're not, right? So something happens genetically is the point there, and you get these big things, these something else's that the humans almost have to like satiate because they're so much bigger. They're just another thing. They got like they're part spirit, part material, things that should have never been, right? Is the way Enoch tells it. And they start devouring humanity. Like literally. Just tearing it apart. Okay? And then the way Enoch tells it, a bunch of the other angels are like, what the fuck? A lot of blood. God, do you hear the blood? And God's like, I hear the blood. Which one did it? And they're like, Azrael, or what the hell his name was, That's why Enoch's so cool, because it breaks down. It's like, man, these other things, right? These watchers in the Book of Enoch, they were responsible for like getting humanity way ahead of schedule is the way it sounds, you know. You started bringing humanity things that everybody knew would lead to killing each other a lot. Epstein Island, you know, everybody fucking knew where that goes when you start throwing all this stuff on humanity, right? But apparently, it would appear that it doesn't matter, and it's all part of the plan. And so when you dive into Enoch, and we'll move on, I think, shortly after this, when you dive into Enoch, what you get is sort of that, looks at that plan. I think there's many of it that looks at the overarching plan, but then you get down to you get almost God personified, right? Because you get Enoch called in there, and Enoch's like, "Oh, this is God, this is Most High," and God comes in just like, "Yo, chill, Enoch. What's up? You good dude, you know? Be chill." There's a bunch of good dudes out there, man. We call them elect. Yeah, don't worry, man. Got plans, dude. Got plans. It's all good, Enoch. You chill. Come on in, right? It's like that vibe, you know? And then it switches like real quick when he's like, "No, listen, Enoch. You got all these motherfuckers down there that have went against what I said. You need to go tell them they're fucked, okay? Sorry, yes, it's gonna take away a lot of humans, gonna take away a lot of shit, man. But we got to, you know, to get back to what's you know, to the plan." And Enoch's like, rock and roll, because Enoch's like seeing it, you know. He like doesn't. Nope. Enoch knows where the fuck he is. And, all right, got it. Poor Enoch gets sent back to the gangster angels, and man, Enoch, dude, it goes. It goes into detail. I don't think it's quite necessary, but it goes into detail. You know, like in the Bible, they want to paint this vengeful God because he's angry at humanity or yada yada, right? Okay. Well, here you get this motherfucker that is chill with his people, right? Like chill with those that are chill with him, like so chill. But then those that are against the plan, yeah, he has like zero mercy for, but there's no anger, you know? It's just, here's the rules. They're fucked, their babies are fucked. Just go tell them. They will not live to see it, and that's what they get for what they did. And then he talks to the angels, you know, he's like, "You motherfuckers go bind those bitches in fucking spirit forever," right? And what is he going to... So here is all the way in chapter 15. And he's talking to these betrayers, and he's telling Enoch what to say, right? "O righteous Enoch, thou scribe of righteousness, approach hither. Go say to those of heaven who have sent thee here." This is interesting. Who have sent, because the watchers, they've already asked him. They've already asked him, like, "You got to go beseech God. You got to go tell him, no, don't, we can work something out, you know. We can just go, it's God. He'll go beg, Enoch." So they send human, right, who their sons, these big things, are devouring, right? And so they're not even human. They're like taking their human form, and they're like going to Enoch, again, and Enoch, not saying this is a fact, but the way old Enoch, the Book of Enoch puts it, and God tells them, "Who have sent thee to pray for them, go tell them you ought to pray for men and not men for you." So there you have that original violation and that much different God than like this Noah narrative, this sort of, you know, one that just has more questions than answers, right? And comes from, you can see these old sources, but it leaves this God that just wanted to wipe us all, right? And I just, that doesn't ring true to me. Does it ring true to you? Or does that ring like something that has been constructed, fucking MK Ultra'd almost, out of existent material to leave you in a separated form of consciousness, a separated nature, a built-in laborious generational guilt about who, you know. Whereas this fucking book they took out gives us something very different, very, very, very different. Men are above you. You don't know what I'm doing with man. You think you fucking know, but you don't, and you done fucked up. This is exactly what he says to him. Wherefore have you forsaken the lofty and holy heaven which endures forever, have lain with women, have defiled yourself, have taken to yourself wives, have acted like the sons of earth. They wanted to be men. They were acting like men. And have now begotten impious offspring. It's a being, spiritual, holy, and possessing a life which is eternal. You have polluted yourselves, begotten, and he goes on about what these things are. And he gives to them that flesh and blood die and perish. He says, therefore I have given men wives, not you. And he's going on about this being the big deal, right? But here, we'll end with now giants. Now the giants, who have been born of spirit and of flesh, shall be called upon earth evil spirits, and on earth shall be their habitation. Okay, so the part of them that's eternal by their fathers, right, according to Enoch here, is still here, right? But it shall inhabit the earth and not the spirit realm. So it can't get spirit, and it's here. So he goes on to tell him what that's going to mean for him, Enoch. Evil spirits shall proceed from their flesh, because they were created from above. From the holy watchers was their beginning and primary foundation. Evil spirits shall they be upon the earth, and the spirits of the wicked shall they be called. The habitation of the spirits of heaven shall be in heaven, but upon the earth shall be the habitation of terrestrial spirits who are born of the earth. Now, not to like give you anything, but you know, for me, right? Like if your belief system, because mine does, I've seen the fuckers, has room for it. Even calls them clouds in here. There'll be a cloud upon mankind, right? It sounds like he's talking about that word that so many people misuse and mislabel and call all kinds of ridiculous things. Like in the, church, right? But as we've just seen from looking at Enoch, guys, I've got one tradition that wants to hand me a God that wanted to kill the human race, and I've got one tradition, same book, that a bunch of people at a Roman council. It's like, yo, imagine the fucking CIA decide making the decision for the books, okay? They decide, all of this information, you see where I'm going, through history and time, however it was, is told you, is taken from you. All other traditions have their own version. To me, and back to any friends picking up Enoch from a Christian perspective, some of the most important lessons you get from it are the visions you get of God that are quite 180'd from the visions provided by Noah. Let's look at a video. What do you say? I wish these transitions worked better. Oh, I'm back to fucking touch. Let's try it quickly. Not quickly enough. Touch is semi-effective for some things on here. Okay, and we've got to wrap before long, but I want to get to these rivers. There's a point for the rivers, okay? That's why I said I don't want to start reading Enoch. Man, as soon as you start, you're like, there's so much here. Who is this dude and fighting for humanity? Oh, that's God? Wait a minute. That's not what they told me in Bible school. All right. Go there. Let's see how well this works on touchscreen, because I can. I gotta share X.
On the lower end of the.
How's that working? Now over here, and let's do something with that. Yeah. All right. And we're just going to I'm going to fast forward through a second or two. I just kind of want everybody to get a look. Sorry, guys. I've been shit on chat. Get a look at some of these rock formations. What's up, Scribe? Thanks for everything. I'm going to come back to the chat as soon as I press play and get to you guys. And we're just going to fast forward a little bit of this. Again, the water is way up today, right, compared to what you would call natural level, and what it does during the week when they turn off their little generators. You know what I mean? All right. Now, a touch. Man, I got to change that battery today. Okay, so drag you here. No! You can't leave your finger in the wrong place for too long. I don't want to do anything. I want you to close. Could you? You're not. You did. Okay, now I need you to open. There we go. See, this is where we if I could bring in my outro music. How loud did I set it? There we go. While I learn how to do this. All right, that's bam, bam. That's all I need in the music. I got it pulled up now. Bam. You gotta kind of move. It's like butter. You know what I'm saying? Oh, damn it. It's so like butter. Jordan Lake slippery here on the Coosa. Before I even put in, because I'm not going to be able to pull the phone out a lot because I don't want to lose the phone, but check this out. So we are just north of our Wetumpka impact crater. It's one giant exposed piece of stone. And you see right across the river. So I'm going to turn the volume off on this. We can talk while a little bit plays out. There we go. And because it's the rocks I'm showing off at this point, so you can see those, and you don't need to hear what I'm telling you just yet. Yeah, Enoch and the Essenes, right? So the Essenes were what do you want to call them? Hebrew sects, the Jewish religious sects. There were three, and the Essenes were one, and the very quickest way to describe the Essenes is they were probably kind of like what you'd call the shamans, the crazy ones of the lot, or the ones more in touch with reality, from my perspective. They were outside, out in fucking woods. They built their own little compound, up in the hills, and they knew they walked amongst angels, and there were rules about you had to live outside for 2 years, but they were very literal, right? They understood that spirit and material is all, where it's all here now, It's my 2 cents on the Essenes. All right, I'm going to try. My mouse is so funky, but I'm going to try now to get our volume back and get everybody back into the chat. There, I got the mouse back for a second so I can... Oh, but it's not... Come on now, multifunction. Behind me, you can see some quartz inside of that stuff. All right, storm's moving in, so I'm going to get to paddling, but I wanted everybody to have a close-up of this. Look at the overhang here. Thoth the Atlantean on X, if you like what he has to say here. Powerful place. Now I gotta get the paddling. Okay, this is just for the view. So again, even though we're miles from the impact crater, not many miles, you see. So I'm just gonna mute again. It's a good way to put it. So Matt Thoth says, I think what you're talking about is the Bible been rewritten for the use of control. I mean, yeah, I think so. What's up, Edward? Yeah, it's about noon. It's 11:30, something like that. We might run till noon, another 15 minutes. But I want to look at the map and kind of wrap up, what I was touching on here. We went spiritual and now we're hopping material, but it's hard because it's all fucking both. But I wanted you guys to get a look at this river because I'm going to put you to a map in a minute, and we're gonna look at something pretty, I think, cool about the waterways of Alabama and where one takes you. Okay, let me get back to my volume here.
This is territory.
Okay, so
It's impressive is what it is. So it's on both sides.
yeah, just again a look. So the impact crater, guys, is only like, I don't know, like 6 miles south of here, right? I'm
Right.
not far from the impact crater.
I'm bringing up the group, so I mean, I'm not with anybody. There's just 5 people that come on with the contractors, you know, that. So
And some of those
people
ended up
paddling.
flipping. That's why this video is so short.
There's a.
had to lend a hand,
All
man.
right, I gotta get my. All right, I got
Took
it
his
now.
wallet and his cell phone
So,
and everything with him.
As I stopped,
Here,
wondering if this island. Sorry for the steadiness. I'm on water. But there's our first wildlife, really. As I
hang on.
so when the water's down, obviously you can see some deciduous trees. This is an island. I debated on which side to come down. And these rocks, of course, everything would be exposed. Anyhow, I took a second to get the phone out of the dry bag just to give you a shot of our beautiful bird. He flew out from right here when I.
The bird to the studio. We're glad you stopped by, man.
All right,
We
man.
like
Thanks
having
for
you
showing
follow us out
yourself.
there.
As
been kinda
we
creepy.
ponder
But I'm glad to know you're a friend now.
what this island would have been when this water was much lower
I do what I can.
in the time of Coosa.
You see how much is buried, right? Like, I mean, you're talking a serious
So
two
many of these islands,
comes down.
which are in the middle of the river. So as much river as you see over here, there's as much on the other side of this thing. And I was coming down it, and I saw, you know, I've been feeling it the whole way. But when I tell you that island down at Corn Creek, you know, with all its deliberate stonework, you know, this one's cool.
They're all so dirty from all the flooding.
All, of course, stained,
Which is the point I want to
just
make with
like
some of these maps.
all the islands here because of the flooding.
Yeah.
But I just wanted you guys to get a visual
It's still a gorgeous place.
on this place.
Look at this hunk of quartz right here. It was broke. You know, it was something and it's been broken. But you really got a shot at how it's all quartz. And look at how beautiful it is. And talk about, I mean, the island was
massive
just sacred.
quartz.
There's no other way to
Whoa.
describe it.
So clear.
You see that? It's beautiful stuff. I was going to grab that one, but I
And
didn't.
see, this will be the same. It's the same thing there. I really don't want to disturb any snakes.
Yeah,
Same thing
way
here.
up in.
Look at this one.
So this is the right-hand side of one island in the Coosa River, and it's it's back up and in. You know what I mean? So it's not like the water just pushes all these rocks here. It's it's kind of the other way around.
All right. Back to racing the storm, which looks like, I mean, it's right there. You see the great? You see?
Oh, hell yeah.
It's like it's going a little.
I just saw what you said.
Man,
Hang on, I'll get back over the chat in
I
a
can
second.
really stay here all day, guys. But I'm supposed to be at the round table tonight, so I'm going to keep moving.
You'll see we've only got a minute left here in the video. I'll fast. You see how high up the water is? Look at this tree, though, yeah.
Quite the cypress
I'm going to fast forward.
tree.
You can go find this video. It's free on X and, you know, all the other places.
Wider
YouTube, yada, yada.
Then my boat.
But I want you to have
We're
these
almost
visuals.
to what they call.
Look, guys, look at these trees, okay? You see, this is the other side of the shore, and you see the rocks that are just everywhere in the middle of the fucking river. Impact crater. Look at these trees. It's like the Amazon, right? It's anywhere there's clearing, you can see right here, and there's no kudzu. That's the other enemy, once you get off the islands and onto the land. You see a bunch of the kudzu all down here. But yeah, that's like a treetop right there. You see how high the water was this day? But still, just, Amazon, man. Amazon.
Moccasin Gap, if you can see the white caps right there.
Yeah, it was right after
And
there.
if there's anywhere
I'll go ahead and fast
where
forward.
I have a
Here's the
shot.
map right here where I stopped to get a little nicotine reload, and then like right after that, here's our shout out to Note. Spicy lime, dude, is like one of the best damn flavors on the market. They're pH balanced, fucking oat.
Reload with some nicotine pouches. Thanks, Kyle.
So I jumped up on
Let's
this rock.
take a look.
Here. I'm showing you the quartz, right? And I jumped up on this rock here, and I was like, because I felt the impulse, I mean, I didn't need, so I had a nicotine pouch in, but I'd been in an hour or two, and, I was like, all right, let's switch. Because I felt the pull over to this rock, and this was right after some rapids, you had to, like, go back a little bit. You see the rapids behind me. I just kind of come through little small rapids, but the motion was, but I felt something. I was like, let's go check out, see sand. I don't know. Let's go over there, And so I go over there, and then after I finish here.
All right. I got a few more rapids ahead. I got to put you back in the bag with the Note nicotine.
Dude, they're such good people. That's all I need to tell you. Not only is it cool shit, but they're good people. You know what I'm saying? That's all there is to say about that company. And this company, really good people here. If you're ever in Wetumpka and you want to head down it, look up Coosa River Adventures. Hung out with the owner a good bit. Good people. Absolutely. Going to go back and see them soon. Okay? So we're going to stop sharing X. And now that you've got your visuals, what we're going to do, boys and girls, is we're going to take a look at a map for a second. Okay? And we'll keep ourselves, I think, under our hour 15 typical time. I know. You're fucking hungry, aren't you? You're thirsty. Oh, that woke you up. Huh? Really? I fucking announce it's coffee break time, and you cheer finally. What am I going to do with these people? I don't. I mean, they're free, so I'll take them. Welcome. It's true. It's true. I mean, I didn't pay you anything. You're just here. I don't know what that says about you, but all right, moving on. Transition swiftly to Edward. Edward says, let's pay attention to chat before we do our closing map look. Yeah, so he's thinking of filling out an app for a position with Sarah and Jay over at Institute of Natural Philosophy. You should, man. Reach out to either one of them. Reach out to Ricardo. Either of them works just fine, bro. Oh, you start at 3:30 a.m. What's that? Just go. Oh, so you start at 3:30. That's not a terrible shift. I hated overnights. I hated getting off at like 3:30, 4:30. But there's worse schedules. But I do feel you. That's a bad one. But I do appreciate you tuning in for a second with us, man. Good to see you. Very good to see you. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do is we're going to look at a map now, and we're going to start where I just showed you video from. That makes sense, doesn't it? I think so. I'm going to have to come up with some sound clips to upload. People going, yeah, definitely, and I'll do it in like different voices, I guess. So people agreeing with me. Is that a good idea? Well, I'll have people disagreeing with me too. People going, fuck off with that. Well, that's a good one right there. Fuck off with that. We could just record that. That's a great addition to the sound effects. Fuck off with that bullshit. See? I'm going to record something this afternoon when I get back in and cool off from playing with Jacob. All right. So, we're going to hopefully explore. I hope the water level is down today. So, we need a Google Earth. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to look at something interesting, okay? So you know already some interesting facts about this water feature called the Coosa River because I talk a lot about it. I spend a lot of time there, man. but we're going to expound upon a couple of connections it has to disparate areas of study of mine. Disparate, yes, that's a word. It is indeed. It's one of my favorite, actually, because you got. It's not what it's what does it mean? Look it up. Okay. So you have the winged serpent here, which I gotta share. Let's share. Let's get everybody big now. I'm gonna shrink again. Say goodbye to the heron. I'd switch over to the sound effects, but it's like way too much because it's a whole other screen from the chat, and I like saying hello to you guys. So that's all. All right, Google Earth. Let's share and let's get myself in. Is this perspective gonna work? How big does it get when I do? Because the map's the thing here. Does that really? That helps. Okay, let's do this. That's the same. Yeah, no. Let's do this. Okay, Google Earth. There. Right. Okay. So, for those of you that are familiar with any of my work, you know about the winged serpent intaglio, as I see it here, depending on the time of year, differences. But it's a reverse negative little earthwork right there, right? Okay, so here you have, they call it the Alabama River because this is the formation of the Alabama River, which then flows all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico to Bottle Creek Mound site would be one sort of native reference point down near the mouth of this place, right? You also then have the Tallapoosa River, well known for, its mentions through native history. And then the Coosa River. Well, they meet right here, this little island, and they call it, Parker Island, and boom, Alabama River, right? Okay. So it's that same waterway. Now, right here, you don't see it on your standard map quite as well. I wish there's got to be a draw function, isn't there? Who knows Google Earth better than I do? I bet there's got to be a draw function, right? Right? I mean, I know there used to would always be edit, like, like a fucking pen, right? Tools. No, you just want to, why wouldn't you just put a pen, man? I mean, okay, because that would be like so helpful right now. What happens when I save a feature? No, I don't want to save it to anything, man. I want the option to draw on it. Okay. Well, if you look here, I don't know. Can you see? Does my pointer? It kind of shows up, doesn't it? Okay. So I'm going to do a slow C circle, and this is your impact crater, your 85 million year old impact crater. I've done a lot of work on it. Check out I don't remember what episode it was of this show, but it's back there. I'll find it for you. If you're interested, just reach out to me. I'm very easy to find. But right here in this nice stretch of the Coosa River, running all the way from Jordan Dam, right? It's what you saw. I put in right here at the dam. Let me zoom in some for you, right? Right here was our put-in point, and I showed you some big rocks right here at the beginning. And then down this island, trodden stretch, right, of river. And it's just very, very different landscape when the water is not, artificially inflated, right? There's Moxican Shoals. That's where Moxican Gap was, but it was like nothing because the water is so high. It's kind of crappy, But you see these shoals, man. That's rock, right? It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful when the water is where it's supposed to be. So that's this river, right? And right here in this little spot is where you see all these islands that I usually swim to when I'm showing you videos from Corn Creek. And okay, that's that spot, right? Right here this is the edge of the impact crater, right where this fucking road is running. That's the edge, right? Okay. That's this river. Now, two things in the few minutes we have left. That one, if one were to be interested in maps and want to see just the crimes, man, like, my God, look at this. Look at this flooding. All right, we call this Lake Martin, and this is over here at the Tallapoosa. But what's under there, guys? Look at all that land that's underwater. And all this is rock, man, and big, pillars. And this is right where DeSoto would have come through somewhere, down through in here into the Coosa. But the same thing happens to this river, guys. Look at, it's lake after lake after lake, right? You got this little river, and then look what man has done, right? And there's nothing we can do about it other than, try to bust it up one day, right? But whatever. What would it have been to a native people, right? I hope you got that from that little ride through, and I hope to do it again in the next week and a half when the water's down, right? And you really get a sense for the place and what this whole river then before all these dams. Look at this, guys. You got one lake. Then they kind of say it's the river, but here it's basically managed lake, right? It's so fat. Look, the creeks backfill even on satellite. You know what I mean? And then it just starts another lake, right? On up here, another lake, Lake, Smith Lake, right? On and on and on. But if you keep pushing through all that, Logan Martin Lake, I mean, do you see how much of the landscape? This is the fourth fucking lake on this one river, right? Moving north. See? And why this one river? You go to these lakes, guys, you wouldn't believe the beauty, the rocks, the strange stuff, and the cities described by many early explorers. But now I'm following the river, and what do you guys see? You see this lake after lake after lake, and then roughly river again, right? And then et cetera, it repeats. All right, I took you to Mount Cheehaw earlier. Mount Cheehaw is right here, right? Okay, but if we keep following, let's find us some more lakes. All right, don't even need to look for the name of fucking that one. We keep going, we keep going, we keep going. I'm going to zoom out and make this easy for all our watchers. You're going to find another lake up here. It's going to be Weiss Lake, okay? And that is very close to a place you all know from all of my research. Little River Canyon National Preserve. Now that's where the bulk of antediluvian Alabama comes from. It is precisely on, if one traces what becomes Little River Canyon, this miniature, Grand Canyon, if one is to trace the in two, you see it splits into the East Fork and the West Fork. If one were to trace the West Fork here, actually way back here, you end up at the circular metal deposit, and everything, from my catalog called Antediluvian Alabama, the roadside rocks, every feature other than the one on the Cahaba River is here. Well, now, did you see how direct? You see, this is Little River. Now here you're on top of a mountain, guys. You're on top of Lookout Mountain, okay? This is known as, I've asked all the things, and they all abide by that it is one of the only rivers in the world that runs its entire course, at least in the northern hemisphere, along the top of a mountain. And it indeed does it. I've been to the mouth, right? It's like the mountain just comes up around it, But this thing that then continues into this canyon, into this landscape I've documented to all of you, right? Right here. It falls off the mountain, right? Canyon mouth, where the mountain rises up around it. And then that's the end of it. Because what does it do? What river is this? This is the Coosa River, y'all. All right? Now, how direct? A lot of people, you can walk. This is one of the trips I hope to take soon. By the way, I'm looking for used cheap campers for the dog and I hope to take soon. Is you can walk the canyon by starting down here at the bottom at the park, and then you just walk up, right? And let the canyon, you can really see it here where the canyon starts to wrap around you, right? But you then follow that very odd river through that very odd canyon on top of a mountain, and you get to every feature. You get to DeSoto Falls. Is it not interesting how this also played into DeSoto's story? So we know he was at DeSoto Falls. We know he was right here at the Coosa, where I was, somewhere right around between where I was showing you and Parker Island is where his ass crossed in Tuscaloosa's territory, right? So this route plays into all of that. But I found it most, and see, I've been to Everhart Point. Oh my God, y'all. I've got video with Logan I put out on Rumble. We did this hike. It's fucking straight up, straight down, right? It's 133 feet, I think, is the canyon. I don't want to, I have to look that up. It's just the depth of the canyon, right, from the rim down to the river. But it's this very river that, not in a bunch of tributarious ways, right, in an extremely direct way, ends right here at what then becomes the Coosa River, right here. See? Now, what do you think? What do you think that would have meant to the native population? A direct, beautiful, sacred waterway that would get you to the top of the mountain. I bet there's something to that, y'all. And that is today's look into my research. What is it we can expound from that? Probably a lot. What is it we could keep expounding upon about Enoch? A lot. And I might just do that in another episode, sort of make that a stated obvious thing. Right? Let me pull this map away and we will get to a little wrap up about what is this. There's stop sharing. What does this tell us? Yeah, I agree. Need to take time with LiDAR. Yeah, thanks, Edward, for tuning in, man. As always, thank you for all your contributions. And thank you, everyone else. Thank you, Scribed. Thank you, KD123, and everybody that joined us on this sort of unannounced little jaunt this morning on a couple of topics I wanted to touch on, that's what we've done. So what does this water thing mean? There are no coincidences, and with any population that existed as interwoven with nature as these people did, right? Lived along these waterways, used these waterways, lived in these mountains, used it. I mean, on and on and on and on. We've been studying it for years at this point now. Together for a year, reading Soto Chronicles and all of those sources. What does it say? That there's a direct route. The direct route from the headwaters are from everything that is antediluvian directly to the place where this giant Chief Toscaloosa and his people were set up directly next to this 85 million year old impact crater that has produced all this quartz that you have seen me for years document, guys. The videos we could pull up on this shit, It's a major part of my work, right? How sacred this island in the middle of the Coosa was, and all of the things that are littered behind me that one pulls out from there that are obviously native, right? What does it say then about the giants? Let's get back to Enoch, man, and Tuscaloosa. These giants that were right here. Are y'all following me, right? We got the water flowing right from where the antediluvian ship blown up, right? That strange fucking river on top of a mountain. And it flows right to here, to this fucking crater. To where Toscaloosa, the giant, and his son, the giant, buried as I propose in a definite burial mound modeled on this crater. And y'all, I'm telling you, you can see in the LiDAR, they built a creek, like a dry creek where water doesn't flow next to the crater to mimic the Coosa River. Do we see how sacred all of this was to these people? Now, the giants, man. What are the giants? What is that DNA? Is that Denisova? What is it? I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. But isn't it not a coincidence that it's right here, y'all? The things that came before came back and set up a reconciled route for humanity and themselves. A reconciliation of these Diluvian bloodlines which were eradicated, a new workable plan after the destruction Enoch talks about, where not all of the DNA was gone. I'm going to hydrate Christos. Thank you. But now, you see where I'm going, guys? The landscape itself speaks. The landscape itself is a map. Now, I wasn't following it, but now that I've found all these disparate, right, sites, and now you see, wait a fucking minute. It's all part of the message that was being left to us down through time. A reconciliation. Because our best future requires the truth of our past. I don't need toys. Sarah, how did you get me toys? I have outro. I can turn it to its lowest. Can we hear it? I need to test everything. Let's make sure can you hear me, guys? Yeah. Now I'm on MapQuest. Thank you, Christos. Yes, precisely, man. I mean, I wish these lakes weren't in the way, because that's a trip. I'd be like fucking taken, no matter what. And it's a reason I'm looking for a camper for me and the dog and a kayak. But it's also why I will continue doing what I'm doing, because every bit of it, as you see, is a piece of research. Why is Mount Chiha right in between the Tallapoosa and the Coosa? I don't know. Watch that video. Why are all those fucking rocks looking like that? I don't know. Maybe you believe what the book says. Maybe if you look at it the way I look at it, and you'd go, oh, no shit. Enoch, huh? I love you guys. Have a wonderful week. Have a great Monday. Get out there. Remember, think long, think wrong. Just fucking grab the day like Coach taught me back in recovery. Every day is the Super Bowl, y'all. Go get it. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you all again very soon. Sarah, I love you. Thank you for all of this. All right? See you guys soon.